Hi everyone, and welcome to the 4DMethod user group. This is our meeting from October 22nd, 2015. In this meeting, we're just going to have a quick welcome to 4DMethod and some 4DMethod news, and then we'll talk to Jim Sobczak and Brian Young from 4Ds for some update from 4D Central there. We'll get some Wakanda news from Jiang Liu, also there in 4D Central. Then we'll see we'll get the 4D iNug e-digest from Ed Hammond. And we'll go through what's to know in the knowledge base from the recent knowledge base articles that have been posted. And we'll have a special topic speaker presentation of CatBase, the database publishing solution. Pat Bensky will be joining us from India, actually. Normally she resides in the UK, but we're fortunate enough to have her joining us from India. We'll have some general Q&A. I think somebody might need to be muted. There we go. And then we'll take a look at our next meeting, which is on December 2nd. And that'll be Christian Sikowski from Heubach Media talking about one of his new plugins. And then we'll have a little wrap-up and any additional questions for Pat or for the folks at 4D. So without further ado, welcome. I'm Brent Raymond, as I mentioned. This is the 4DMethod, 4D and Wakanda user group. You can reach us at 4dmethod.com or at our email address, 4dmethod@gmail.com. We get together on a regular basis, trying to do about every 6 weeks to every 2 months to combine efforts with other user groups around the world. Normally, this has just been a local effort, local user groups, and we're trying to bring everyone together. Trying to bring together, as it mentions here, a scattered community of developers and users. And we stream all of our meetings via Google Hangouts to allow people to participate in a live meeting from anywhere in the world, as we are today. We record all these meetings and presentations, and they're available on YouTube to watch anytime you want to at a later date. And our goal is to provide fresh new content and exposure to all the regional groups and the developers, and for users to show off their programs and for developers to show off their tricks and generally create a nice community. So here we have some news from 4DMethod. As you can see, I have the Cubs, poor Cubs. We're broadcasting from Chicago, so have to mention the Cubs and the revenge of the Billy Goat. It's kind of a joke around here that our team is cursed by a goat because the goat wasn't allowed in the stadium 70 years ago, and everyone still talks about it. Kind of ridiculous, but RIP to the Cubs. Our schedule has been set for the first half of 2016. We've got a meeting, as I mentioned, about every 6 weeks. January, March, April, and June. We are still looking for people to present for us in these meetings. It's a great way to get exposure, to share some of the clever things that you've been working on in the past year or two, and yeah, to show off some of your great work. So contact us, and we'll put you on the calendar. Without further ado, we'll get some news from Jim over at 4D.
Hello, everyone, and welcome from 4D headquarters here in San Jose in the heart of Silicon Valley. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Ed, once again for putting this presentation together. We really appreciate your time. I know there's a lot of work that goes into this. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes here, and then Brian and Sean will also update you on news from San Jose. Yes, and for you Cubs fans, we're totally sorry about the way that Mets series turned out, and having 3 World Series here in the last 5 years from San Francisco winners, actually. So Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Ouch, ouch.
Quick update on the 4D product side. As you know, V15 has been released. It was released in July, mid-July. Thanks to new agile development, we're releasing new versions about every 3 months now. And we're finding from our customers and from our vertical market developers that 15.0 is truly the most stable .0 release of 4D ever. And for sure, as long as I've been here, people are moving right to it. We're finding that many of our customers who are still on 13 or earlier versions are going directly to 15 and having good results. So really, there's no reason if you're on an older version of 4D not to go to 15. So that's working out very well. 15.1 is well on the way, and we're planning to release that November 4th. So look for that. You'll see the announcements coming from our website and on the 4D forums as well. And because our release cycle is every 3 months, the first R release of V15, which is V15 R2, is planned for the 3rd week of November, and that will all plans look to be in full sync there, and we're hoping to release that in the 3rd week of November. And as we mentioned at the summit, once we do release a new R version, we immediately go into the next R version. So we are created a branch for R3 in our main development environment, and soon we will freeze the code on R3 and start testing that version, and that will be ready about 3 months from now. So we're totally happy with the way the whole agile development cycle is working out. We hope that you, as 4D customers, are seeing the same things that we're seeing. So that's about it from the 4D product side. I briefly want to mention that the World Tour is officially over. Something we started back in May, I believe, in Prague, Czechoslovakia, and ended in October in South America, is now over. And we had over 1,000 attendees worldwide, and we're looking forward to doing that again in about 18 months or so. We'll go 6 different cities, and we're already planning that. So that's about it. As the summit's a big issue for us, right? Not issue, but a big project for us now that we're well on the way. And I'm going to let Brian Young take over there. Brian is our director of marketing here at 4D Inc. in San Jose. So Brian.
Thanks, Jim. So yes, you took my notes on the roadshow, but that's okay. We're happy that's finished up. That was an epic show. You said 6 cities, but of course, when we do it again, we will visit about 40 cities around the world.
Worldwide, yes.
Yeah, but 6 cities in the States. And hopefully we have a more international audience today. We try to get the word out to our friends in UK. And sorry about the little confusion over how you refer to your time locally. GMT was not the best choice, but the timing was right. So hopefully we've got a few of you on the air today. I want to talk about the summit. So we've got Summit Portland and Summit Paris coming up in April. So Portland is from the 4th to the 7th. Do we have that slide, Brent?
Yep.
Oh, there we go. So in Portland, it's from the 4th to the 7th, and in France, in Paris, it'll be from the 26th to the 28th. For our friends in the UK who would like to choose between them, the Paris Summit is becoming more and more English friendly. We'll have more and more sessions that are in English, so you have a good choice between which one you may want to go to. We are on a 9-month event schedule. What that means is now the roadshow's finished up, approximately 9 months after that is when the summits happen. So of course the roadshow took a long period of time, so we're only about 6 months away from the summit right now. And then 9 months after the summit's finished up, we'll have another roadshow. The speaker submission deadline is December 15th. So if you have an idea of a session that you would like to contribute, if you have some sort of idea you want to submit, you can submit it as late as December 15th, but we've already gotten a number of really good submissions, and the slots are already filling up. So if you have an idea, please submit it, even if it's not fully formed, and let us talk to you about it and work it out. don't delay on that one. We'd love to hear your great ideas and get them all in the best we can. Sean, did you have something you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Brian.
And there's a slide for Sean.
Is there? Oh, maybe I'm messing things up. What's the next slide?
Oh, sure. Just a few more things to mention on the 4D V15, also known as V14R6. With the agile releases, it's actually a pretty reasonable, a measured jump from R5 to R6. And you can actually see there's a new document available for the upgrade for developers, where it shows only the from R5 to R6 release notes, so that you can just, if you're already on R5, you can just concentrate on the jump from R5 to V15 or 14 R6. So I thought that was very handy and worth mentioning. Again, as I mentioned in the last meeting, there's really some wonderful demo videos and databases, test databases for V15 at the link that I have on the screen there. They've really done a good job explaining the new features and giving you some stuff to test the new features before you upgrade your own database. Also, as usual, there's many new features, but also some deprecated commands, which they mentioned on that page. For one, they're deprecating the XSLT features in 4D, but if you are currently using them, you can either use the PHP module libxslt, which was introduced in 4D 14.2, or you can leverage the new powers of the process 4D tags instead. We rewrote a whole reporting function here at the museum with process 4D tags that had been using XSLT, and I think it reduced the amount of code by like 90% for that functionality. So it's really a nice way to go if you just move to process 4D tags. Another thing to mention with V15 is the string and integer variables compiler commands to declare string and integer variables are going to be obsolete in future versions. So we have to look at ways to migrate away from their usage. In fact, already in Unicode databases, their type is indiscernible between the two. A string looks like text and an integer looks like long integers. Looks like a long integer, so we'll have to look at migrating away from their usage as well. In addition, as usual, the subrecord commands and the resource commands are deprecated. So a lot to look at, some great new features, and it would be good to be up on the new version to leverage to stay current with all the OSs. And so now we have some news from Wakanda from Jianglu, and I'll kick it back over to you there in 4D Central.
Thanks, Brett. Hi, everyone. So the biggest news from our last meeting to now is Wakanda 11. So Wakanda 11 is right around the corner. It's coming up soon. So the team is working hard to bring like the updates and the news to available to the community. So we just a couple of days ago we just released the Wakanda 11 Studio sneak peek. So instead of like a list of features or some text, we actually did a video of a live show of a presentation and how the studio will work. So it has a lot of features and actions packed in that video, and so we will do something more like that before we actually release Wakanda 11. So check it out on the forum. I believe it's a YouTube video, and you should be able to just search it, Wakanda 11 Studio Sneak Peek. And but in addition to that, we also published the cloud features on the Trello board. I think I mentioned that last time. We are getting a lot of votes and a lot of participations, and the team is actually adding features and taking down and swapping things out from time to time. So if you haven't signed up for the Trello board and vote that yet, So please do that so we can know your feedback. And the third thing is the Wakanda Cloud is getting officially launched, and of course it comes with not just the platform, comes with the support. So the Wakanda Cloud has launched a new support system, and now the Wakanda Cloud has its own ticket system. It has its own forum. It has launched a new official docs and FAQ. So if you go to console.wakanda.io and log in, and you will see that full support and system available to you. So these are the news from Wakanda. So a lot of things are happening, and we're really close to Wakanda 11 and the new version of Wakanda Enterprise, of course, 4D Mobile as well. So stay tuned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Young. And that'll be really exciting to take a look at the new studio. I'll be very interested to check that out. Has much of the look and feel of the studio changed, or is it going to be very familiar for users, or is it a pretty big leap?
There's a big change as well, but will be familiar to the Wakanda users. So the GUI editor will pretty much stay the way it used to be, but with the new widgets.
I see.
And that's version 2 widgets. So they will have much more functionality, but the way to use the GUI designer, the drag and drop and the WYSIWYG will probably stay a lot familiar. But there's a brand new code editor and brand new Explorer as far as I can see. So it will got a lot more and a lot different than what we used to know. Yeah.
Okay, great. And the studio was rebuilt from scratch, or is that an incremental bump from the prior 8, 9, and 10 versions of Wakanda?
The one in Walk 11 that's releasing a sneak peek will be the increment update.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
We're doing things like so everything in Wakanda Studio now is modularized. So what I was just mentioning, the code editor is a brand new module that's just brought in to Wakanda 11 that will stay with there even though we are maybe there will or not. Well, I'm not sure if there's a rebuild of Studio, but that piece of module will be kept. So the widget set and the part of the designer that's modularized that's updated will be kept there.
Okay, great. And the Wakanda Cloud will be it's already available, right? But the official launch is going to be is there a date for that?
I think it is already officially launched. With
Okay.
The plans, support, and everything. But it will be updated to 11 once it's out.
Ah, okay, great. Okay. Well, thanks so much for the Wakanda update. It'll be exciting to look at the new version. So let's see. Okay, and next we have the 4D iNug eDigest from Ed Hammond.
Great. I'm going to whip through the recap of the last month of iNug messages rather quickly so we can get on to Pat's presentation. I know her time is valuable and she's extended herself for us, and we thank her for that. So, without delay, the more interesting topics in the last month, web area tips on having a web area on a page other than page 1, and event process sequencing. Kirk Brooks and Miyako had a discussion on that. Of course, 4D put out the call for summit speakers. Thomas Mall had tips on connecting USB to serial devices, very specific hardware recommendations. And I thought that was very valuable. There was some discussion on constructing an HTTP request from scratch using the internet, the IC tools, which, if you're using a version that doesn't have HTTP client, that would be valuable, but I think I would be trying the HTTP client commands first if they're available to you. There were some extensive postings on general development techniques by Robert from usersoft.com. He brought up topics on agile development, on naming conventions, which took up several days of digest postings. A lot of debate on different uses for naming conventions and different styles. And I think it comes down to, and I know my experience coming to the museum here has been, you have to be consistent with the team or the project you're working on. So if you're working independently, pretty much whatever works for you is great. But if you're working with other people or working with the intention that somebody's going to follow on later on, you better be consistent.
But and just to add to that, it really helps to stay somewhat consistent with the community, so long as the community itself has a broadly shared naming convention, because then it really helps to be able to read everyone else's code, and if you do inevitably share some code with other people and use other people's utility methods or frameworks, then it's much easier on the eyes and much easier to maintain over time. So.
One thing I will mention is a lot of this comes back to just generally good programming techniques. I recommend anybody who hasn't read it yet to read Code Complete by McConnell. Good tips in there on programming in general. And I don't remember exactly the quote, but somebody used to say, you should program and comment like the guy who's following you and has to maintain it is a 500-pound gorilla and knows your address. Because if they can't follow what you've done in the past, he's going to be coming after you. There were some comments on automated testing. There was an old component recommended by Mark Schock. I know that 4D had presented some information on unit testing at the last summit. I don't think there's been any follow-on to that, but we're looking forward to any improvements you can make. I know Brent and I spend a couple of hours every Friday trying to go through techniques, and we're developing our own means of automated testing, and hopefully at some point when we find something that works really well for us, we'll present that here. There was also a question on version control. Jeff Kane recommended, if you haven't looked at the introspection commands in 13 and above, to take a look at those. He's using those in conjunction with GitLab to do some analysis on their code base. Again, this is a subject that's kind of sore with 4D. I know that there are forum posts on the 4D forum that go back several years on version control, and we're looking forward to having good solutions for that in the future. Tips of the day. Miyako posted a couple. Cut name selection doesn't unload the current record, and array to selection ignores the read-only state. So beware of those things. Yes, yeah, that could be nasty. There were some JSON examples using Miyako's plugins posted by Kirk Brooks, and also a managing forms with a form controller, also by Kirk Brooks. Kirk, if you're out there listening, we'd be happy to see any of the work that you're doing and perhaps a presentation here. Also, that goes for Jeff Kane too, with your introspection tools. A number of people found some interesting text editing quirks, bugs, anomalies using 13.6 and various operating systems. We found that if you use the extended press to bring up alternate characters on a Mac, it works sometimes. And then it keeps you from entering anything into the text area. And that's with 13.6 specifically. There were some people that found that it wouldn't accept carriage returns in a text area, and they have a workaround for that. And we've given our users a workaround for the alternate characters, a lot of umlauts and special characters that we find here in names and whatnot. The anniversary of Walt Nelson's passing was noted on the INUG, and God rest his soul. Walt was a valuable member of the 4D community and contributed greatly. an example library giving on how to do emoticons and emoji into form objects was offered up by JPR. Thank you, JPR, for that. There was some discussion on how to get a table pointer from a table created through the SQL commands, and various solutions offered using both SQL and 4D commands, and the advantages and disadvantages of both. On a more general nature, lots of questions and comments on PDF production and manipulation, SQL connections to alternative SQL sources, particularly Microsoft SQL Server, keyword indexing, built-in versus custom keywording, converting older databases up to version 14 and 15. Is it better to go with 14 or 15? And what are the best changes to make after you convert? A lot of people comment on things that they find in versions and operating system combinations, and it's good to keep up on those, especially with El Capitan out now. I know we probably will avoid that until we can make the jump up to 14 or 15. Type changes within the 4D environment. There's some specific type changes that you should be aware of: integer versus long integer, and string versus text. And Brent commented on that earlier. There were some comments on the SQL export feature from 4D and how it differs between some of the other SQL platforms. There are some very specific things that 4D includes in their SQL export because it's designed to be re-imported into 4D. So beware of that. I know Pat ran into a case where table numbers change, and maybe she can give us some advice on that after her presentation. There was discussion on UUIDs, on the data type itself, and how it's represented. Long integer, text, all the combinations, and I think people are still getting used to that. And then finally, there was a big discussion on storing data in using objects in the newer versions of 4D. So we're looking forward to all the things that we can do with the more recent versions of 4D as we make our conversion. And that pretty much sums up the discussions over the last month. I do want to note that we've just updated the 4D Info Reporter component in our database. The current version is version 4.9e, and it's added some more attention features. So it'll point things out to us, and we've used those to actually put some triggers into our database environment where it will notify us of certain conditions via email. So take advantage of all the things that the INUG has to offer. There's lots of good advice out there, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, Ed. There's clearly a lot of material that's being discussed on the NUG that can come in handy in all sorts of different systems in different ways, and certainly an immense breadth of knowledge of issues and how-tos with 4D systems out there. So everybody would do well to check that out. If you're not on the mailing list, there's a link here to the page to register for the emailing list. Also, at the following link, you can access all of the discussion on the NABL website. That's also handy if you don't have a history of all the NUG topics in your email already. You can just search there on the site. So thanks again, Ed, and look forward to the following updates. And now, what's to know in the knowledge base? Well, we already mentioned the the issue with string types and integer types going away, there's a quick tech tip in there explaining how the type actually looks the same to 4D. And so if you have any code that's checking variable types or pointed variable types, that kind of thing, that's a bit of a gotcha. And moving forward with the deprecation of those kind of variables, we'll have to figure out a way to handle to move all of the strings and integers into text variables and long ints. Just a clarification from 4D. Is it also, will the field types for string and integer be being deprecated as well, or is it just the variable types?
Honestly, I don't know, Brent, but I'll find out for you.
Okay, all right, thanks a lot. There was also a tech tip on displaying different data types in a single column on a list box. Now this is I believe a V14 or V15 specific tech tip, but regardless, it's something like what you would see in the property list editor, where you'd be able to have, as in this example here to the right, a text, a number, a different real type, and even a checkbox, all within the same list box column. Now you can do fancier things with 4D view, but this is a way that it can be done with just an object array and a standard list box. Of course, prettier things are available as well with 4D view, but that's an interesting. Oh, you still need 4D view from Guy. Okay, yes. Okay, so that is using 4D view. My bad. It would be a good idea for everybody to check my math on these articles. Thank you. But that would be a great advance for a lot of interfaces, so that you can have a property list type editor within 4D. Also, the last one here, the list form font color highlight tip. It's a little bit hard to explain if you hadn't tried to do something like this, but when in 4D, when you if you have the text color set to automatic, then when you highlight a record in a list form, then 4D will automatically swap the font color from black to, say, white in this example here on the right. If you set the color to, say, gray, as we see here, then the color will stay gray when it's highlighted, and sometime, say, if the color you wanted was blue, the text would actually disappear. So there's a tech tip here on how to get around that behavior and to alternate the colors yourself as the records are being selected, and also on when you're entering text into those fields. So all handy stuff, good stuff in the knowledge base. Check it out, and you won't be sorry. So without further ado, we'll have our special topic here on CatBase, the database publishing solution. CatBase is a powerful solution for turning data into illustrated catalogs, directories, and price lists. We have Pat Bensky joining us, who normally resides in the UK, but who's traveling for work currently and is in India. Pat's been working with 4D since the very early days. Back in the late 80s, she was the editor-in-chief for a magazine publisher based in Denver. Anybody remember Mac Guide magazine? Well, she was the editor-in-chief for that magazine. The biggest section of the magazine was a listing of Mac hardware and software, and it would take a team of 4 editors and an art director about 2 weeks to produce the entire section. But Pat figured out a way to automate that process which led to the creation of CatBase. CatBase since then has matured into a full-fledged and full-featured application with a wide array of different capabilities to suit users' requirements and to take and to operate on the new OSs and systems. And it's now one of the premier data publishing solutions available, used around the world by all kinds of organizations, from community newspaper publishers to multinationals such as Dun & Bradstreet. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over the presentation to Pat, and thank you so much for joining us.
Okay. Well, hello there. I hope you can all hear me okay. So what do I do? I'll share my screen, yeah? You don't want to look at my ugly mug, do you?
Let's see.
Right. No, let's go with this one. Start. Okay.
There we go.
Google. So I say deny or okay now?
We see your Finder window.
I've got a message saying Google Talk plugin wants to control this computer.
You better let it.
I'm just going to deny it. Oh, too late. I denied it. Okay. So here's CatBase. It's a database, right? And what I'll do is I'll just jump in and give a quick demonstration of what CatBase does, and then we can go back and talk about how it does that in a bit more detail, and I can show you some features that I think will be of interest to 4D developers.
Hey Pat, I think we might have to try sharing the application one more time. We're still just seeing the Finder window. So just say stop the screen sharing and then try and do the share one more time.
Okay.
There we go. Give it a go once again. There we go. Okay. All right. Thanks so much.
All right. It's a database. Okay. So this example database is for our favorite bakery, which is based in Cybertown, and we want to publish a catalog listing some of our products, and we want it illustrated with pictures and everything. So in brief, I've set up what we call a publishing style, which tells CatBase what data we want to publish and how we want it all formatted and sorted and everything. And I've set up a project to actually publish that data. So I'm just going to go ahead and publish the data just to show you how that works.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. Everything all right? Can you see okay?
Yep.
Okay. So now, okay, so if I want to switch to showing you InDesign, do I have to stop it and start it again?
It depends on if you shared. It depends on if you shared the whole screen or if you just shared the application.
Right. Can you see an InDesign document now?
No, you might just have to share the whole screen instead of just the application.
Okay, let's try again.
Oh, good on it.
Yeah, it's always a bit tricky with the presentations. There should be an option to share the whole screen.
Right, so but select a window, desktop, Google Hangouts, blah blah blah, something else. What's that one? Okay. Well, I don't.
The desktop. The desktop is probably the correct one.
Oh. Can you see InDesign document now?
There we go. Yep. All good.
Yep. Okay. Oh, good. Cool. So this is obviously a template that was set up before, and I'm just going to import the file I just published from CatBase, which is, I think it's this one. No, it isn't this one. Why doesn't it show me the date here? Right. Is it this one? No, it's not that one. Sorry. It's not that one either. Right, let me just check, make sure. Yeah. Should be this one. Oh, I see what's happened. For some reason, it hasn't found my pictures. Right. Sorry about that. Let me just fix that quickly. Okay, so I'm just going to republish this and hope it finds the pictures this time. Let's delete all that stuff. There we go. That's a bit better. Okay, so what we've got here is the catalogue with information about each product and an illustration of each product, and then a list of the different options available. So for example, with this one here, we've got different pack sizes, 10, 15, 20, and 30. And obviously this comes from a related table. So basically, that's what CatBase does. You have your data in a database, you set up publishing styles that describe the sort of publication you want to create, and then you publish the data and put it in your page layout program, and everything is magically formatted. So from the same set of data, we could produce a number of any number of different formats of catalog or directory or whatever, or price list or whatever we want to do. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the database. Can you see the database now?
Yes.
Hello? Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Good, just want to make sure that's working properly. So I'm going to show you a couple of interesting things. Perhaps the most interesting thing is the way that the database is structured. So we've set up a virtual structure, and in this virtual structure, clients can add and manage tables and the relationships between them. So if I go to database setup, you can see in this one we've got two tables set up, products and variants, and we can add fields if we want to. So let's say I want for the products table, I want to add a new field. I'm going to make a Boolean and I'm going to call it new product, and I'm going to index it. So we've got various options that you can set up, various properties for each field, and we can add a help tip if we want to. Okay. Having created a new field, we now need to put it on our data entry form. So we go to the form design wizard and find that new field, which is called new product, and I'll just drop it onto there. Now this area here uses a canvas plugin area. So you can move the fields around and resize them, change the options for them. So let's say, for example, for this one here, I want to change the field properties. I want to make that one indexed as well. And you can change whatever properties you want to quite easily there. So now I've made a change. I've added this new product checkbox. So if I go back to products and edit a record, we can see there's our new field that we just created. Now, how does this work, you might ask? When we were originally setting up this virtual structure, we looked at various ways of doing it, like using MySQL or SQL commands to create new tables on the fly, using external databases, and in the end, the only method that actually worked as well as we wanted it to was to create lots of tables and add lots of fields to all those tables, and basically have all the tables and fields predefined. So when a user goes in and adds a new table, they're not actually creating a new table. They're just basically activating a sleeping one. So I'm going to call this widgets. Here's our new table, widgets. Oh yeah. So I've got to give it a key field. I'm just going to call it widget name. Okay. So it creates our basic set of fields like record number and UUID and things like that. And then the key field is widget name. I can add any new fields I want to. And I can manage the relations. So let's say I want widgets to be related to variants. I go to Manage Relations. So here's our new widgets table. Drag that over and drop it on here. And so to relate that to variants, I just drag it and drop it onto there. And now that shows us that there's a relationship between these two tables. And again, this is a canvas area that we're using to do this. It shows you here what the parent and the child tables are, whether it's a one-to-many or a many-to-one relationship, many-to-many or many-to-one, sorry, and whether a parent record is required. So if that box is selected, then you can't add a child record without it being related to a parent record. Way of enforcing the rules, basically. So there we go. That's basically how the virtual structure works. Does anybody have any questions about that? Not, we'll move on.
This is Brian at 4D. A quick question. The tables are all pre-set up, and you're just hooking up sleeping tables and fields. How do you do the relationships?
Mm-hmm. All right. Let me show you. Let me quit this and open it up in interpretive mode. Okay. Okay, so here's the structure, and here are our data tables. There are about 50 of them, I think, and they each have about 550 fields, which, as you can see, there's lots of fields of different types. So in this particular database, we've activated a few tables, and the necessary fields have been automatically indexed. So you see that tables that haven't been used yet, the fields shouldn't all be indexed, right? So here, this table isn't being used, so no fields are indexed. And the relations, have been created on the fly. And that's all just done with code by setting the relations. What's the command? I can't remember. Yeah, let's have a look. Oh, I know. Right, so here's the code that draws the relations. So there's a table that keeps track of what relations exist between which tables, and then when we rebuild a database, then it just creates the, there you go, no, that's not it, strange, create relation, here we go, this is where it creates them. So we just use a bit of SQL to create the relations between the tables as required. So this information all comes from the relations table.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. No problem. Any more questions about that so far? No? Okay. Let's go back to yep.
I see why the table numbers were important to be maintained in your database. But, don't want that
Yes.
getting out of order.
Oh. Yeah, that was the big problem there. Okay, so another thing that might be of interest to 4D developers is the use of list boxes for the views, for the list views. So here we've got a list view of the products table, and we can easily add another column to this view if I want to. If I just right click on here, I choose add a column and choose a field. So let's say I want to add the created date, the enter date field on there. So that is there, so I can resize these, move them around. I want to put enter date here, whatever. Once I'm happy with the arrangement I've got here, I can save it so that next time I open the database, I'll have this exact same view. And obviously, you can click on a column heading to sort. And then if you want to get rid of one, you just right click on the column heading and delete it. Okay, let's see, what else? Okay, here's another interesting thing that we've got, which is our audit trail. So at the moment, the audit trail isn't turned on. If I was to turn on the audit trail, go to preferences, and I've got a bit of a display problem here. There we go. I've turned on the audit trail. So now for all tables, that's all data tables, we're going to keep track of any records that are added, modified, deleted, and we're also going to keep track of memos. So if I go to products now, and let's make a change. So I'm just going to change this. Save that. And now if I go back to my audit trail, it hasn't worked. Right. A demo gremlin. I think it's because, I think I've got it this time. Somehow there's a funny little pop-up there that shouldn't be there. Right, I'm going to try again. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so it's created an audit trail record, which I can double click and see, right, the table was products, that was the record, Halloween cookies, and it was modified, that was the event on this date, this time, by me, and this is the change. Field number 39, which is the description, was changed from that to that. So this is a very useful feature for a lot of clients who need to really keep a close check on what data was changed and who changed it. Does, of course, bloat the database a bit. Okay, any questions about that so far?
But that is a very nice feature to have in a database, to be able to track every single change to fields as they're being made. Can you also restrict certain users from changing certain fields, or is it basically all access?
Yeah, you can add users, and so let's say I'm going to add a user called Fred Blogs, and give me a username, Fred. Okay, so we can give him user access, and now I can control whether he can, for example, he can add new records and he can edit them, but he can't delete them. He can import data, and he can publish data, and he can create publishing styles. So basically, you've got pretty good control over what each user can or cannot do.
Nice.
So let's have a look at the publishing process. We would create a new publishing project, and I'm going to do a new price list. So now each publishing project has one or more steps, and each step is basically one publication, or one section of a publication. So if you were doing a big catalog that had maybe 20 sections, you could do perhaps one section as a step, as each step. So let's add one step here, and it's going to be the I'm just going to do one, price list. So the next thing it needs to know is what data do we want to include when we publish this project. So we have sets of records. So I'm going to create a new set, and I'm going to call it new product based on the products table, and I'm going to query the table, add one criterion, which is going to say new product is true. So we're creating a set that contains all the products that are flagged as new products. Save that, and then the next thing we need to do is choose a publishing style and a publishing destination. So for the moment, I'm going to choose my existing catalog publishing style, and the destination will be InDesign with X tags. And these other items, these let you choose where the file is going to be saved when you create it, and so on. If you don't choose a location, it will just go to a folder called Data Exports on your desktop. So that's it. That's a project set up, and all you have to do then is publish it. So you can publish just that step, or you can publish the whole project. This is basically what I did right at the beginning of the demo. So what I'd like to do, so that just shows how once you've set your project up, you can so easily just go and republish it. You don't have to remember which records are supposed to be included, or which publishing style to use, or how to sort them, or anything like that. You just run the project and it does it. So I'd like to go into publishing style sheets a bit more and show you how they work. Let's create a new publishing style. Oops, go away. And I'm going to call it demo. This is a development version. That's my excuse for bugs showing up. So what we do is if you think of a publication, it's organized into paragraphs. So in our Tooth Fairy catalog, the first paragraph for each product listing would be the product name. So we create a new paragraph, and I'll call it product name, and I'll choose a style sheet which relates to a style sheet in the page layout program. Then all we have to do is add elements to that paragraph. So we'll add an element. So these are like the building blocks, if you like. What's going on here? I'm just going to show you the one that's already set up. There it is. So product name catalog paragraph has a couple of elements added to it. I'm going to add a new element to show you what they're all about. So elements can be a barcode, a calculation, a field from the database, a picture, and punctuation like a tab character, for example, a relation which will let you include data from a related table, a rule, or some static text. So let's have a look at some of these. Barcode is pretty good fun. This is one we just added. So let's say I want to create a barcode, a QR code based on the product name. So there's your example QR code. So now when this is published, it's going to create a QR code, save it, and then publish it in your publication. So you could do some cool stuff with this. So for example, let's say I wanted to create barcodes that had links to the products page on your website. So we could start off with a bit of text like www.catbase/ and then obviously I wouldn't have the product name, probably I would have its record number, and then finally .html. So there's a QR code, it's created, and it's going to create this code. When that's published, you'll be able to just scan it with your QR code reader and go straight to that products page on the website. Pretty cool. So you can set up the picture, you can say what size it needs to be. So I could make it 3 centimeters by 3 centimeters, for example. And that's it for that one. So that's a barcode. Then we've got, most of these are pretty obvious, but let's say a rule, for example. You can create rules that tell CatBase how to make decisions about what data to include or leave out, or how to format it, or whether to include it in a table or whatever. So I could say, for example, if the field new product is true, I want to say new product, so static text, new product. And I'm going to apply a different style to that element. So the basic style for the paragraph is called product name, and that's going to be in, I don't know, say Arial 10 or whatever. But this, I want this to stand out a bit more, so I'm going to have a style for this element, bold. So let's say that bold style is set up to be in bright red and bold and a bit bigger or something like that. I could also do it a bit differently, and I could publish a static picture, which might be a little flashy graphic saying, you know, new product or something. You can also do things like tell it, okay, if this product is true, then let's include it. Otherwise, let's not include it. Bit unlikely, but hey. And if you're publishing data in tables, as you often do with, say, related data, you can say, all right, if something is true or false or whatever, then include or don't include this row, and so on. You've got all kinds of options you can choose there. And up here, your basic criterion could be if the field is something, if it's the first record in the selection, then do something. If it's an odd-numbered record within the selection, maybe you might want to choose a different style sheet for it or something like that. And if the paragraph is another, if the paragraph is longer than, say, 50 characters, no, 250 characters, you might want to insert a paragraph break of some sort, a soft return perhaps, something like that to break it up. Okay, so there's lots of options there.
Pat, when it says run a script, how does that work? Is that a custom script, or is that something external?
Yeah, they are scripts created using Footrunner.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so we have to create them for the client at the moment. We do want to set up a sort of a script creation tool, if you like. It's, as you can imagine, it's pretty complicated. So that hasn't been done yet. But we do get requests from clients asking for a script editor, and it's kind of on the to-do list, but
in the wrong hands.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have one option where you can run a SQL query, some SQL. So let's say, I think it's in the import styles. Let me just have a look. Can't remember now. It's been so long since I did this. So let's say I'm importing some data. Oh, hang on. Right, I've entered the wrong type of license for this demo, and it's not letting me use the SQL options, so I can't show you that right now. But basically, we have a different level of licenses which has the SQL connectivity built in, so you can create a SQL connection, and that will connect to MySQL or SQL Server or any kind of ODBC database in theory.
Cool.
So let me show you something else about imports while I'm here. So we can, let's say we're going to import an Excel spreadsheet. I'll say, okay, it's a spreadsheet. Select the file. Let's find one. Oh, here we go. So it's opened our spreadsheet. Which sheet do we want to open? Products, okay. So it has mapped the columns in the spreadsheet to the fields in the database. And obviously, if you want to change one, you can just click on the header here and choose the field that it should be mapped to. So maybe special offer, let's pretend that's supposed to be new product. If you want to ignore a field, a column completely when it's being imported, then you can just choose extra field, and CatBase will just ignore that column from the spreadsheet. Now, you can use imported data to update existing data. So I can go to updates and I can say, okay, when this data is imported from this spreadsheet, we're going to update existing records by matching on our key field product name. So then what it'll do is, if this box is not selected, don't create new records, then it will, if it doesn't find a match in product name, it will just create a new product record. If it does find one, it will update it with the information that's in the data being imported. Right, so how are we doing for time? Do you want me to stop now?
No, you're fine. So for the Excel files, I saw that you were importing XLSX files, which is the newer version of Excel files. What are you using to read those?
We're using another fabulous plugin from Pluggers Software, which is their what's it called? XLS plugin, I think.
Oh, okay.
What is it called? Hold on, let me just check. Can't remember. Excel plugin. Yeah.
Excel plugin. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, and it works really well. You can import spreadsheets, and you can also create spreadsheets, and it's very cool. And for some reason, Rob doesn't have this listed on his website. You have to ask him for it.
Oh, okay, great.
Quite sure why.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah. There's one tech tip on doing it with PHP, but I'm sure Rob's plugin is far more efficient and faster.
Yes, and easier to learn.
Right.
Right. Now, okay, so here's another cool feature I'd like to show you, which is modules. Now, modules basically are components, but we call them modules because it's a bit more of a user-friendly term. So we create custom modules to do special things for our clients. So I'm going to switch to a different customers database. Don't need that. A different database, right? So I'm sure this client won't mind me showing off their data to you. Wait a minute now. Come on, wakey. Okay, so these guys are manufacturers of all kinds of sort of gas equipment and diving equipment and things like that, and they have a very complex structure for producing their individual distributor price lists, where certain distributors will get a certain base discount, which might be, say, 25%, but then for other products, they might get a bigger discount or maybe no discount at all. And then also, to make it even more complicated, if the same part is used in several different products, let's say it's used in product A, which has a discount applied of 40%, and the same part is also used in product B, which has a discount of 20%. So when the catalog is published, they want to make sure that that part is shown at the same price everywhere. So where it's shown with product A with a 40% discount, then when it's also shown with product B, which should have a 20% discount, it should also get the 40% discount because that's the highest discount level applied to that part in that publication, that price list. So it's quite complex, and the only way to manage that was we created a special module for them. Let's look at this one. So here we've said, okay, for this supplier, distributor 7 Solutions, these are the products that are going in their distributor price list, and these are the discounts percentages that have been applied to the different products. Then we can also select what prices we want to include, obviously GBP. They can also include USD prices and euros. and for that they have to enter the exchange rate. So if I say publish now, it's now going to run through all of these products, calculate the prices and everything, and publish that data. And if we go to the parts table now, what it's done is it's actually updated these prices live. So the GBP price list is 50. Your discount percent is 15 for this particular part. So it's calculated the GBP price to you, the USD list price and the discount price, the Euro list price and the Euro discount price. So that's some pretty complicated stuff going on in the background, and we can, we create various modules for doing those kinds of calculations. And basically, they're just created as components, compiled, and then all they have to do is drop them in the components folder, and that will then create this modules menu, and they'll be listed under that.
Very interesting. Can you speak a little bit about how the X tags documents work with InDesign? I used to work for Auto Trader Publishing, and we used Quark and Apple scripting, which was terribly complicated and not very consistent, and certainly much slower than what you're showing us with X tags and InDesign.
Right. Okay. So what Xtags is a plugin for InDesign and also for Quark. It's basically the same product, and it allows you to create tags for pictures and things like that. Pictures and text boxes are the most important things, because if you create a regular InDesign tagged text file, it doesn't allow for the creation of text boxes on the fly, and it doesn't allow for the automatic import and placement of pictures. So that's the main thing that we use X tags for. So as an example, if we have a quick look at a file that was created, where are we going to exports? So this is the one for the Sweet Tooth Fairy catalog. Look at that in BB in it.
Your examples always make me hungry, Pat.
It's not that I am compelled by food or anything.
They are delicious.
So okay, so an ordinary InDesign tag would look something like this, I think, category, something like this. I'm not quite sure if I've got that right, but that would be an InDesign tag. So X tags uses a slightly different formatting for the tags, and then here's an example of a picture being tagged. So this tag here says, okay, it's a picture box type 2, and then you've got the various parameters. That would be the width and the height of the box, and the style of the box, the border, various it's quite complex, various other bits and pieces that you can choose for it. And then when that's imported into InDesign or X tags reads all those tags and does all the formatting. So in looking at that in CatBase, if we look at product groups. Sorry, let me go back to my other database. By the way, we're currently working on version 8 of CatBase, which will have some cool new features. The main one being that you'll be able to publish directly to a PDF. So we've got a PDF designer, a layout designer, which is quite cool. Right, so if we go to my publishing style catalog, and if I look at the product picture paragraph, picture setup, so these are the parameters that are used to create that complicated picture tag in the xtags text file. So for each of these things, a center baseline, frame width and shape and style and all those kinds of things, you can they will all be created in that tag text. So you can do things like have an oval box or a rectangular one, give it a background. Oh, object styles are really cool as well. You can give them most objects actually, you can create an object style, and then when it's imported into InDesign, I don't think I have done it here, but let's say I've created an object style called, right, create an object style called picture. So in this object style, I can say, right, I want to have a drop shadow. Let's have preview on here. And let's keep it simple. Let's just leave it at that. I'm going to put a drop shadow on this object style called picture. So now any box that style is applied to will have that drop shadow. So I could have simply in CatBase, in my picture format, I could have put the object style name in here, picture, and then all of these pictures, when they're imported into the InDesign document, will have that picture object style selected. And you can use that on text boxes and all kinds of different things, which is really cool.
Now this is a it'll run in server client mode, correct? The application CatBase.
It can be. I'm just using a single user version here at the moment, but yeah, we do a client server version, yeah.
And it works on both Mac and PCs, right?
Yes, indeed. Yep.
Right. Cool. Yeah. Let's see if we have any other questions. Nothing from this people streaming the meeting. Does anyone in the chat room have any specific questions for Pat? It doesn't appear so, but it's a very impressive application, which clearly has had some very complicated publishing requirements over the years, and you've been able to wrangle them into to one simple interface. It takes a little setting up, but once it appears you have that all of the styles all set, you can really concentrate on the content of your catalog and the speed at which it's able to rip through the production in InDesign is just stunning. So congratulations with conquering that challenge.
Thank you.
So let's just switch it back over here. Thank you so much for that presentation. Again, let's see that this was CatBase. You can go see more information about CatBase at www.catbase.com. There's also some nice video training called CatBase Academy at www.catbase.com/videos.php. I watched all that, and it's really, I think every application needs video training these days. It's just invaluable to have for your user base. And so thank you again, Pat, for the nice presentation and for taking the time from India to connect and show us around.
Okay.
Our next meeting is you're able to see the schedule for our next meeting at our website. If you click schedule in the menu bar at the top there, It'll be on December 2nd, and we'll be talking with Christian Sikowski from Heubach Media. He'll demo a new plugin for executing real code within HTML templates. I believe he just released it. It has low-level commands for creating execution contexts, variable initialization, support of virtual structures, and local variables. I'm excited to see what kind of virtual structures we'll be able to create. Again, we have a bunch of open dates for presenters next year. It's a great way to show everybody what you've done and be able to share that with other potential clients. And so give us an email and let us know if you're interested. So any other comments from anyone in the group here?
Yeah, I just had a quick question for Pat. You said that you use a tag component with InDesign. Is that required for your publishing to InDesign?
Only if you want to automatically place pictures and or text boxes. If you don't, if you're not going to include pictures, so let's say it's just going to be a regular price list, for example, or a directory without any illustrations, then no, you wouldn't need it.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Make sure everybody else out there.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The question is, are the people that use CatBase, are they normally single user 4D licenses, or are they 4D server type licenses? The people that use CatBase.
Well, we've got a mixture. Yes and yes. So I would say probably half of our clients are single users, and the other half have the multi-user version. So a lot of the clients are just either small departments within bigger companies that only have one person working on the project, or they're just very small companies that only have one person working on the project, or those are the single user ones, and then the multi-users obviously are bigger companies that need to have multiple people accessing it. We don't have any installations with lots of users because that's not really the nature of the product.
It would seem that you wouldn't need too many users with, once you have it set up, you can pull in data from other sources, and this just completely automates the actual publishing process. So,
yeah, that's what tends to happen, especially with the bigger companies. They won't use CatBase to actually manage their data. They will just import it from some other system that they've got and then publish it with CatBase. But you can use CatBase to completely manage the data. We've got a number of clients who do that, and so CatBase is their main data source. They publish printed catalogues and prices, and then they also publish directly to their websites from CatBase. So their websites are run usually using a MySQL database with data that's pushed from CatBase.
I imagine some of your clients make some rather large catalogs with this, with CatBase.
Yeah.
How many? Have you heard some crazy numbers as far as how many pages, or?
The biggest one I know of, because they sent me a copy of the finished product, is about 1,800 pages. But
Lord. Wow.
But we have other clients. For example, Dun & Bradstreet, they use it. They have a division in Dun & Bradstreet that produces directories of all the schools for every state in the US. So that's 50 different directories, and each one of those, well, they vary in size, obviously, according to the size of the state, but they could be many hundreds of pages as well, because they list all the schools in all the school districts and the principals and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of work to do by hand.
That would be impossible. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us and your demo, and thanks everybody for tuning in to this this meeting of 4D Method, and we'll see you in December, hopefully.
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Pat.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Ed.
thanks everyone at 4D, and we'll see you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Thank you.